All right, my beautiful friends. It is an amazing and incredible Monday, and I hope your week is off to a beautiful start. We're waiting for the tubes to connect themselves over here all across the fruited plain of the interwebs. Before we go ahead and get started, sometimes they do not connect. That can be a problem for us. We want to make sure it's working, and it looks like it is. Probably. That's tremendous news. That means we can go ahead and get started. So let's do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Gouveia, and today we're talking about Trump's January 6th case, resurrected after the Supreme Court came back down with their immunity ruling. We've got Judge Chutkan, who's come out with a bunch of stuff. She said, I have the case again, and we're getting this puppy started. So Tanya Chutkan, January 6th case, Washington, D.C., the plot to interfere with 2024, back on the menu, boys. And so we're going to go through that. We're going to see what her order says. She says, we've regained a jurisdiction over this. We'll see what that looks like. And then she's denying a Trump motion to dismiss the entire case based on selective and vindictive prosecution from Jack Smith. Now, this was the same filing or the same issue that Judge Cannon did not agree to. Remember, Judge Cannon said, well, I'm going to dismiss it, but it's going to be based on Jack Smith's illegal appointment. But here, in the Florida case, she did not dismiss it on the selective and vindictive prosecution. So not a surprise, but we'll go through it and we'll see what Judge Chutkan's reasoning is. And then we'll see what she says about Jack Smith's illegal appointment at some point. So that'll be coming soon. So we'll go through all of that. Then we'll turn our attention to what's happening with the Secret Service, because there was a reporter called Susan Crabtree, who's amazing, over for Real Clear Politics. And she had a new story, an exclusive from her, saying that the Secret Service was covering up the White House's cocaine problem. Remember that whole story when Hunter was like, during the event that time? They were trying to figure out what to do about it. They found cocaine in a locker somewhere, and everybody's like, golly, where'd that come from? I don't know. We couldn't figure it out. We're like, oh, well, I don't know. Check Hunter, the crackhead. Might be his. So it turns out they were working really hard to cover that up. They had a strong indication of who it belonged to, and now there's a whistleblower, somebody who was inside the Secret Service, who's come out and told us a lot more about it. So great report. We're going to read through it and see what's inside there. We've also got some reaction from Tim Burchett and some others, and so we'll see what's cooking there. Then we'll talk about what's going on with some election interference courtesy of Google. Remember, Google was having a hard time filling in the autocomplete results. You type in Trump Assassination. They said, what are you talking about? You mean the pillow fight where he got hit in the head with a pillow or something? You're like, no, that's not exactly right. Can you tell us what happened with that? They wouldn't even autofill it. And it turns out they have been found to be a monopoly, courtesy of another judge. So there was a big ruling that dropped on that, saying that they have been abusing their position in the market. And also the Judiciary Committee, through Jim Jordan, is sending letters from Congress over to Sundar, who is the CEO over there, saying, hey, stop censoring our side, you punk. So we'll read through all of that. We've got 3 great segments to attend to and updates across the board. We got Jenna Ellis coming up. She's flipping here in Arizona. Oh my gosh. We've got that coming up. And some more reaction to what's going on in the courts. And so it's a beautiful day, my friends. Very glad that you're here and with us. This morning, we had a members only stream at watchingthewatchers.locals.com and on YouTube. So if you missed us, we missed you. I'll tell you that right now. But we had a members only stream. We do members only streams in the morning. You can become a member on YouTube. You can become a member on Locals and join us. We have a lot of fun. We talk about a bunch of stuff that we just can't get to here due to time. And we'd love to have you join us. It's a great way to support our work and to meet some new friends, little smaller streams. We have a little more intimacy, as it were. So come join us. Watchingthewatchers.locals.com and on YouTube. Join as a member if you haven't already, and grab this morning's stream. It's right there. All right, so we missed Zach too. Zach, we missed you. Hello. All right, so join us tomorrow, my friends, if you're a member as well. because our Membo streams are great. Okay, so let's get into business on the day. We've got some updates from the Trump case. The January 6th case is back. Judge Tanya Chutkan wasted no time in reinvigorating this case. We know that they want this trial to go before the election. They're very unhappy that the other cases are not going to be going before the election. So this is the last thing they've got. They're all hanging on for dear life. Judge Tanya Chutkan out of Washington, D.C., has come out and said very gleefully, she says, the court has regained jurisdiction over this case. She's like, finally, gosh. Because remember, every day that this was sitting with the Supreme Court or working its way back up to the court or back down through the Court of Appeals back to her desk is time that Trump is going to say, I have to work on my case, right? I have the ability to prepare my defense. This case was stayed, paused. Nothing should have been happening between the time that the court lost jurisdiction of the case and the time that the court regained jurisdiction over the case, right? Remember, because immunity precludes the person who is exercising that immunity from facing any consequences of the system. It's not only consequences of a conviction, but it's also the penalties of the system. Like, yes, you could be immune from being convicted of a crime, but you still have to go to court and like sit there and twiddle your thumbs all day. No, you're immune from the whole process, which means even immune from responding to the government's process. And so the court should have been sitting calmly and aside from all this case file and everything, but the judge did not do that, as we're going to see. So she regained jurisdiction over this case, and she says, all right, that's it. I hereby order as follows. We are now setting a status conference scheduled for August 16th at 10 a.m., like lickety split, baby. Fast, like 2 weeks. Courtroom 9. The requirement of Trump's appearance is waived for this conference, so Trump will not need to be there. But by August 9th, which is the end of this week, the parties shall confer. So Trump and his team shall meet with the government. Jack Smith, who just got thrown off the Florida case, shall file a status report that proposes jointly, to the extent possible, a schedule for pretrial proceedings moving forward. And if necessary, the parties may explain any disagreements in separate sections of the report. And so Chutkan doesn't really know what to do on this. She's kind of stuck. I'm like, okay, well. Whew. So immunity came back down, and a bunch of stuff in the indictment is going to talk about presidential activities, like speaking to the public and stuff. So there's going to be stuff that is at least presumptively immune in the January 6th indictment. And so now they're going to have to tangle out the spaghetti from the sauce, my friends. And that's a hard thing to do. Once you mix those two things, it's like you can't really undo that. So we're going to see how it works. But Chutkan is saying, all right, Jack, you told me what you think we should do. And Trump, you tell me what you think we should do. It's kind of like, oh, yeah, I know where we're going. But which way do you think we should go now? I mean, I know if we should go that way or that way, but where do you think we should go? That's what I was going to choose anyways. So Trump's motion to dismiss the indictment based on statutory grounds is hereby denied without prejudice. And Trump may file a renewed motion once all issues of immunity have been resolved. So this one, she's saying, well, we're still working through some of the statutory complexities here. So we're just going to dismiss that for now. We're going to come back down. I'll decide what we're doing on immunity, and then we'll take it from there. Briefing deadlines with respect to the government's motion in limine, which is a preliminary motion to usually preclude evidence or something from coming in, are hereby stayed. So all that stuff is on hold. And the court will set additional deadlines after our conference on the 16th. Now, simultaneously with this, right, remember, everything was stayed. Chutkan should have been doing crossword puzzles or something, not working on this case at all because it was stayed. But when she regained jurisdiction, okay, on August 3rd, guess what happened? She's like, poof, I just magically pulled these opinions right out of my booty. And look what this one came out. August 3rd. That's weird. How did she write 16 pages of an opinion like the same day she got the order back? The judgment back. She had regained jurisdiction over the case. Suddenly, poof. Well, it's because she was working on them way before, right? She was working on these things all night, all over these, just putting the final glistening touches on it. She didn't write it in like 4 hours and then drop this. She's been working on it while this case was supposed to be stayed. She was typing away so that as soon as she got the case back, she could just drop the mother load on Trump. And so let's go through it, see what she says. says here at 16-pager, says, all right, listen, this is from Judge Chutkan, who's going to be in charge of this case moving forward, and they're going to do everything that they humanly can to get this case on trial before the election. Because they failed with Big Fanny. That's not going anywhere. That appeal, I think, is not even being heard until after the election. We've also got Bragg's sentencing, which we're going to talk about here in this segment. And then we've got the classified documents case, which is gone. So the Bragg case, they're going to try to sentence him before the election, and that might actually happen, but we'll see. And then this is their next best hope. Let's see what else is inside. She says, okay, Trump has moved to dismiss the charges against him because Jack Smith is a vindictive and selective piece of crap. Also saying that the court will now deny Trump's motion. Big surprise. And it's not a huge surprise because honestly, Judge Cannon also denied this motion on this issue, but she turned around and said Jack Smith is not even legal. So I think it's even worse than that. Okay, so it's not like, well, he's not really selective and vindictive. I mean, he is selective and vindictive, but it's not even selective and vindictive prosecution per se, because Jack Smith is an illegal prosecutor. So it's like even worse. It's like in order to be a selective and vindictive piece of crap prosecutor, you actually have to be a prosecutor, you know? It's like, you're not even a prosecutor, Jack. You're not a real boy. You're not. You're not. And you stole $24 million. So you're not. Sorry. This Disney story does not have a happy ending. Okay. You're just a wooden Jack Smith. You're not even a real prosecutor. That's Judge Cannon. So my point is Judge Cannon, is she going to be an inspiration to Judge Chutkan, who's then going to turn around and say, well, I'm sorry, Jack, I guess you're also illegal. Are we going to see the same pattern here? I don't know. So here's what Chutkan says. Now, at the motion to dismiss stage, the court assumes the truth of the indictment. So we're going to give Jack Smith the benefit of the doubt and saying that here is what the indictment charges: conspiracy to defraud, conspiracy to obstruct, obstruction of, conspiracy against rights, and others. Now, at the outset, the court must address, as it has before, Trump's improper reframing of the allegations against him. This order sounds like Chutkan already. Says, he declares that the indictment amounts only to a government theory. This is what Trump's argument, that it is illegal to dispute the outcome of an election and work with others to propose alternate electors, right? Trump is saying everything I did was legal. JFK did the same thing. Now, that description mischaracterizes his alleged conduct, so the judge is going to now act as a prosecutor. Trump is charged with knowingly making false statements in furtherance of criminal conspiracies and for obstruction of election certification proceedings. Okay. Now, the indictment does not charge for publicly disputing the election outcome. All right, so she's wild. This case is going to be brutal. So the government has broad discretion. She's going to fight so hard on this. It's going to be great. Saying a selective prosecution claim requires the following. Here's what Trump said. Now, Trump claims that public statements by Joe Biden, who they threw overboard, and news reports sourced to government personnel with direct knowledge of the relevant events are prima facie evidence on its face. Just you can look right at it and say, boom, it's clear what it is. That this prosecution is selective and vindictive. They're saying, just look at this, Judge. Biden's making statements about Trump, and then the Justice Department that Biden controls, evidently, is now exercising prosecution against Trump. So that's sufficient. That tells us everything we need. They give us exhibits from the Washington Post and the New York Times and True Social. But the judge says, you know, these exhibits that he contends conclusively demonstrate, Trump says, to stop Trump from being the president again. And Chutkan says, no, we disagree with that. No, that's not what they're doing. No, they're just prosecuting the law. They're good people. To succeed on a selective prosecution claim, Trump has to satisfy these things. Courts look at those things. Second, a defendant must show the following things. But here's why whatever the government is doing is incredible. Here's what Chutkan says. Trump's evidence of discriminatory effect, like Trump is being discriminated against, is only a single paragraph of legal conclusions that I've already rejected. He says that other people have also committed the same conduct and they haven't been prosecuted. But the court has already explained that Trump is not being prosecuted for publicly contesting the results. Instead, it's knowingly making false statements in furtherance of a criminal conspiracy. And they're going to have let's see how they prove this puppy. Now, nonetheless, Trump suggests that he is similarly situated to others, saying, I've got protected speech. But the judge is saying, no, you don't. Says there is no discriminatory purpose Biden's publicly stated objective is not to use the criminal justice system to incapacitate Trump. They don't establish anything about the prosecution's improper motive at all. The Post does not indicate that the DOJ shopped this around. And the articles do not suggest that Biden urged Merrick Garland to take decisive action against Trump. At the most, the Times article says that Biden maybe privately commented on one occasion, maybe, that Trump should be prosecuted. But he didn't actually do anything. There's no indication that Biden ever expressed any such comments to Merrick, much less any comments that actually resulted in a politically motivated action. So Biden's great. Now, Trump also relies on November 22nd events, saying that Biden made a public comment after the midterms when Biden said that Trump's movement is not going to take power again. Says, we'll just have to demonstrate that he will not take power. If he does run, I'm making sure under the efforts of our Constitution that he does not become the next president again. Now, the judge says, that's great. What's wrong with that? On its face, the statement suggests only that Biden would vigorously campaign against him. But Trump infers that it must mean prosecution. No. It's just normal election. The inference is unfounded. There's no ill will here. As Merrick Garland explained, the only reason that we appointed a special counsel is because Trump is now running for president. That's all. It's not Biden ordering a hit. It's just allowing prosecutors to do their job. And so there's no evidence, says this court, of any discriminatory purpose. There's nothing wrong against this prosecution against Trump. And he's not vindictive either. Trump may make a vindictive prosecution claim in a number of ways, but the evidence here is that there is no vindictive prosecution. Trump says this is a retaliation and that the special counsel has been brought in here to target him, but he's demonstrated no evidence of the vindictiveness. The articles don't show any evidence, and Trump fails to show that the government filed any additional charges based on what's happening in Florida. And so his decision to do what he did in Florida didn't influence what happened in DC. And so there's no sequence here that supports a presumption of vindictiveness. And so Trump loses on that one, no surprise. And so finally, Trump asserts, at least I'm entitled to a hearing on this. And they say, well, if you want that, you must put forth at least some evidence. And there's no evidence here. Everything here is incredible and amazing. I'm Judge Chutkan, and I can't wait to put you in jail. Says, for these reasons, Trump's going to have his motion denied, signed, and sent by Judge Tanya Chutkan. Same day she got the case back. Isn't that amazing? Man, she can type really fast. Like really fast. Pretty good there, Judge Chutkan. Now, elsewhere in the J6 cases, we got some interesting stuff happening. Jacob Chansley, who was set up, showed into the building by officers, as we saw on Tucker Carlson when that footage came out. Why don't you come on in here there, Jacob? Come on in here and come stand up here. And photos all over the place. And then Liz Cheney cried about this headdress like it was the end of America, okay? It's so ridiculous looking back how much these people hyperventilated about nothing. It's pathetic, but they're pathetic. So Kyle Cheney said, he posted this one. Guess what? A federal judge is going to let the QAnon shaman, Jacob Chansley, shout out, Jacob. What's up, brother? Says retrieve his horned helmet and his spear from the government. Whoa, right on election season. So we can have another takeover of our country, idiots. So here is what this order says from this judge. At least he's getting it back. Says, Jacob Chansley stormed the Capitol, was invited in. That's my phrase. He was invited in by the cops. Remember they were tapping people on the shoulders and stuff? In that respect, he was like thousands of others that day, also who waltzed in there. But he stood out to the entire world and he was standing outside saying, be respectful, okay? Standing outside on the blowhorn saying, please be respectful, before he was showed in. He was invited into the Senate building. But he stood out to the entire world because he wore a cool outfit. Horn, coyote tail headdress, and colors of America. God bless America. And no shirt. Now, in addition, he had armed himself with a serious weapon. Yeah, I know, very serious. A 6-foot pole with an American flag zip-tied to a shaft and a metal spearhead affixed to the top. Where'd that come from? The government prosecutors? All right, anyways, it was a flagpole. I know, very dangerous. Guns all over America, and they didn't storm it with their assault rifles. Mr. Chansley has completed his prison sentence, says the judge, and much of his term of supervised release. Now he has moved for the return of his property seized and still held by the government, including his spear and helmet. Since the government has not established that it still needs the item as evidence and has not sought their forfeiture, the court will grant Chansley's motion. And man, he's going to be wearing that puppy in no time. It's going to be looking great. So that's what's happening with that case. Now, elsewhere, remember that Missouri filed a petition in the Supreme Court to try to stop what Bragg was doing, saying that Bragg's prosecution of Trump in the criminal fraud so-called trial, where Trump had 34 guilty verdicts, that was election interference. That was a state-level prosecution brought in a jurisdiction where there was a demand to pause the proceedings based on the immunity decision in the Supreme Court. The judge said, get bent to everybody, proceeded with the case. SCOTUS came back down, said, oops, you are in fact at least entitled to a presumption of immunity for certain things, like when Hope Hicks testified about White House comms and her role as the White House comms director at the White House. Kind of official. Anyways, all of that was supposed to theoretically, legally be stayed so that this could be adjudicated appropriately. Never happened. So what Missouri was doing is saying, okay, well, that was clearly election interference. That's Bragg trying to tip the scales, put his thumb on the balance so that he can incarcerate Trump before the election. That's all it is. So now the Supreme Court has now rejected Missouri's petition, unfortunately. But we thought that was probably going to happen. The Supreme Court's not going to save us on this stuff. Missouri's motion for leave, this is what SCOTUS said, to file a bill of complaint. Remember, we've covered this, that one state basically can sue another state, kind of. It's like filing a complaint against another state. You got to get permission from SCOTUS to do it. Its preliminary relief or a stay is dismissed as moot. Justice Thomas and Alito would grant the motion to file the bill of complaint, but would not grant any other relief. And so it was always going to be a long shot, but it was a good effort. And that's not going to happen. We saw the same thing happen back in 2020. Ted Cruz, I think, was leading the charge with a bunch of other states. They filed to try to stop some, I think they were filing, I think, as a coalition of AGs or something, and the Supreme Court rejected them. So it's unlikely that was going to go anywhere, but now it's confirmed. Now, elsewhere, okay, we have the Bragg prosecution, which is coming to a close. We have sentencing, or at least a sentencing-ish hearing coming up after Judge Merchan decides what to do in the Bragg prosecution. But we also had this very interesting announcement today coming out of Arizona. Remember that our Attorney General, Chris Mays in Arizona, has now announced, in addition to charging a bunch of these so-called fake electors, or the alternate electors, the people who were just participating in the process legally and lawfully, she's charged a bunch of them. And watch this. Jenna Ellis, who we've talked a lot about here back when she was crying in Fannie's courtroom, reading her little pathetic sentencing agreement, she was now someone who was charged, and now an attorney like Jenna Ellis, who many would think theoretically at least helped create this whole strategy, is now going to flip on the people that she was working with, allegedly. So here's the story from Chris Mays, the Attorney General, who's just as bad as the rest of them, as the Jocelyn Bensons, as the Jenna Griswolds, as the Shenna Bellows. They all mostly look alike, sound alike, think alike, do everything alike, and then claim that they're, diverse. So here is the announcement. Attorney General Chris Mays announced a cooperation agreement with a defendant in the alternate electors case that they've rigged to politically weaponize Arizona. Jenna Ellis signed the agreement earlier this morning. Ho, ho, ho. The state has agreed to drop the charges against Miss Ellis in exchange for her cooperation with the prosecution. Now, this agreement, said the Attorney General, represents a significant step forward in our case. I am grateful to Miss Ellis for her cooperation with our investigation and prosecution. Her insights are invaluable and will greatly aid the state in proving its case in court. As I stated when the initial charges were announced, I will not allow American democracy to be undermined. Okay. Now it's far too important, says Chris. What she's talking about American Democrats to be undermined. I will not allow American Democrats to be undermined. We know it is far too important. Today's announcement is a win for the rule of law, says Ellis had previously been charged with 9 felonies, including fraud, forgery, and conspiracy. The case against the other 17 defendants remains ongoing. Here are the copies of the motions and whatever. So this is wild. So ordinarily, I'm a defense attorney. Okay, I've executed plea deals like this. One person says, yeah, all right, look, I'll work with you. You get the goods delivered on this other person. Happens all the time. All the time. What you don't see happen as often, and I understand that, by the way, and oftentimes those deals are actually, they actually kind of result in a semblance of justice because they're actually working towards getting the actual person who's responsible for the bad stuff. But here, what's curious about this is Jenna Ellis is the lawyer. She's kind of like the one at the top who would be, theoretically, she was on TV all over the place, making the decisions about whether or not alternate electors are lawful. So it's almost like you'd think, okay, you have a bunch of people who are like, well, I'm happy to volunteer as an alternate elector. Yeah, I'll volunteer. Is it legal? Can I do this? Can I sign all this? Does anybody know? I mean, we'll do it as long as it's legal, right? As an alternate elector. Sure, I'm a volunteer. I work for the party. I'm just a lay person. I'm a nice, I volunteer, retired, whatever. Sure, I'll serve. I'm a party leader, whatever. What did the lawyers say? I don't know. Well, Jenna Ellis is on the team, right? So somebody go ask her. She says, oh yeah, it's great. Do it. This is hypothetical. Right? I don't know if this actually happened or not, but she's a part of the conversation. She's on the TVs saying, we're challenging this, fraud, blah, 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 all over the place. Ensnaring everybody up in this thing. What's the lawyer say? It's legal. It's perfectly fine. Go do it. Jenna Ellis, she's a lawyer. She works for Trump. She's on CNN. Go to listen to her. She's amazing. So people listen to her. They all get charged with crimes. Jenna flips on them. It's disgusting. A lawyer is flipping on the people that presumably she was representing on the first end. Now, it's reprehensible, honestly, that Chris Mays would do this and try to go after the lawyer, right? If she really thinks that Jenna Ellis is guilty, then Jenna Ellis is the person who was probably giving legal advice to the other people. And so I think advice of counsel as a defense would be great for those other people, saying, we were just doing what the lawyers did. And the lawyers said that they have a basis for doing this because they did this back, I think it was in 1960. When they did this Kennedy-Nixon back in Hawaii. We've played that document here. So Jenna is going to flip on all of these people now, the very people who are relying on her counsel in order to be in compliance with the law. It's what some people might call entrapment, ensnaring. Some people might say, wow, this kind of feels like you're a Fed or something, a Fed would ensnare a bunch of people in, sell them a bunch of stuff, kind of poison the pot, and then flip on everybody and instigate everybody. It's pretty sick. It's pretty sick behavior, but this was already something known because Jenna cried totally needlessly when she pled guilty like a total whiner in that courtroom in Fannyland. And of course, she shouldn't have done that because that whole case is really problematic because it was corrupt from the beginning. Just like this case is corrupt from the beginning. Just like every single one of them has been corrupt from the beginning. Now, in my opinion, this is not a big win for the prosecutors. Jenna was the lawyer on the case. What's she going to say? I told Trump to do this, or I told Trump, or Trump directed me to do this. But you're the lawyer. Did you tell him that was illegal? Right? Unless she comes out and starts, who knows how far she'll go. I wouldn't put it past her. This is going to be this could be a problem, right? We'll see if she actually knows anything. Or my point is, I don't think there was any criminality that occurred at all. And she was put in there to make sure that that didn't happen. She was the lawyer. It was her responsibility to make sure everybody was in comportment with the law. Now she's going to admit that she committed some crimes, evidently, in exchange of this cooperation agreement. She's, a cooperation agreement, she's not going to have to plead guilty, so she's not admitting to wrongdoing. But why did they get this cooperation agreement? We'll take a look at the documents once they're finalized and executed and see what's inside of those. But it's disgusting behavior from a terrible person. So this is Attorney General Chris Mays. Her response says, my office has reached a cooperation agreement with Jenna Ellis. And here says, this agreement represents a significant step forward. So it's the same thing she posted just over on X. And Jenna has responded to this. Says, here's the statement from my lawyers. All right. We are grateful the Arizona Attorney General's office completely dismissed the indictment against Jenna Ellis because they just bought her off with a non-prosecution agreement, as she was not involved in the so-called fake elector scheme. Well, that's not what they said. They said that Jenna was responsible for a bunch of different felonies. She got charged with a bunch of them, and that she's going to be cooperating. So that's what AG Mays said. So if she wasn't involved at all, then why is she cooperating with the government? Why doesn't she just say, I'm innocent? Just go forward with that and just say, I'm not taking a stupid deal to cooperate with you on anything. Jenna was originally told that she was not a target and her cooperation is continued willingness to tell the truth. Okay. We'll see. We'll see. Now, listen, I do understand the pressure to take a plea deal and to take a non-prosecution agreement. I completely understand that. The problem that I have is when it's a lawyer who seemingly is selling out the people that she was representing before. It's contemptible. This is another update. So we have the Supreme Court who is saying that they are not going to hear any arguments on delaying the sentencing, which is currently scheduled in the New York case. And so I know we're bouncing around a lot, but back in New York, the sentencing is tentatively scheduled for middle of September, but we don't know if that's going to happen or not because there's another hearing date scheduled, I believe, on the 6th. Where the judge is going to hear arguments on how this should all proceed in the context of this new immunity decision from the Supreme Court. So SCOTUS came down with some new orders and releases today. Here's how Fox News reported on this one.
This news breaking moments ago, the U.S. Supreme Court now refusing to delay former President Trump's sentencing in his New York criminal trial until after the election. Trump says he did nothing wrong and plans to appeal the conviction on all 34 counts of falsifying business records. He is facing possible prison time or a fine at the sentencing, now set for the 18th of September. So a little more than a month from now. We'll keep track of that from here. Meanwhile, you got another.
All right, so that might go forward. And boy, what if they say that he needs to go in jail on that one? They might do it. They are freaked out big time. This is a clip of Raskin that's flying all over the interwebs right now. It's a wild clip, and I want to talk through this because it shows how panicked and freaked they are. They're willing to do anything to stop this man, I think, including shooting him in the head. And so this is now a clip from Raskin, clipped by End Wokeness and many others. I think I saw Marissa Henson had it very early, and this is a longer version of it. But this is Raskin explaining what their strategy is in 2025. And if you go into this, the question becomes, if they're willing to do this in 2024, 2025, what were they willing to do in 2020? This is the same dude, right? He's been around this entire time. So this is not new. This is just the newest version of this same strategy. Here is Raskin explaining that they're going to disqualify Trump. Okay, it's not like they're going to decide via a proper counting of the votes who won or not. He's going to disqualify Trump, even if he wins them all, when he does.
Again, it's necessary, but it's not sufficient because what can be put into the Constitution can slip away from you very quickly. And the greatest example going on right now before our very eyes is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they're just disappearing with a magic wand, as if it doesn't exist, even though it could not be clearer what it's stating. And so, they want to kick it to Congress. So it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025 to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job and interpret what the great 14th Amendment means. And I'm glad that Sherilyn's creating her new center so we can bring that.
Okay, so I don't know if this was meant to be public at all or whatever, or if somebody was just seizing this while he was speaking at some closed-door event. It certainly feels like that. But he just said disqualify. And then they're going to have to arm up with bodyguards for Civil War conditions. Now, he's saying that now. So what did they do in 2020? He was the same guy who wanted to disqualify Trump in 2016, objecting to the counting of the votes back then. So it seems like they're plotting an insurrection. Could somebody call this a conspiracy? Congress is just going to interpret the law to throw Trump out? it's their effort right now. It's pretty sick. But the Supreme Court keeping a close eye on everything. Carrie Saravino clipped this one for us. Judge Gorsuch was over on with Fox News the other day, and here is what that exchange sounded like, saying, look, if Biden's going to be packing the court and coming after all of us, then they better be careful. Here is the great Justice Gorsuch.
You are not in a bubble here at the courts. There are real-world events happening. The president has proposed now changes to the court, supported, it appears, by the vice president, who looks like she's going to be the Democratic nominee. How does the court feel about potential changes, term limits, ethics codes that are enforced by someone in ways that it isn't now?
Shannon, you're not going to be surprised that I'm not going to get into what is now a political issue during a presidential election year. I don't think that would be helpful. I have one thought to add. It is that the independent judiciary means, what does it mean to you as an American? It means that when you're unpopular, you can get a fair hearing under the law and under the Constitution. If you're in the majority, you don't need judges and juries to hear you and protect your rights. You're popular. It's there for the moments when the spotlight's on you, when the government's coming after you. And don't you want a ferociously independent judge and a jury of your peers to make those decisions? Isn't that your right as an American?
Used to be.
And so I just say, be careful.
Yeah, well, they don't want that to be a right anymore there, Justice Gorsuch. They don't like that concept anymore. That's old America, man. That's not justice anymore. That's like old white justice or whatever they say. It's like now we need total radical reform of everything because that's what communism requires in order for it to survive, a total rebuilding of all the infrastructure. And so this has been an update on all the various court proceedings that Trump is involved in. We had New York. We had a little bit of Florida talk. We had a lot of the J6 talk because the case is now back with Judge Chutkan, and we're going to see where it goes from here. We're looking to challenge immunity. Trump's defense team is going to be there on August 16th. Arguments ready to go. We'll be here covering it, my friends. Thank you so much for subscribing, wherever it is you're watching this. We'd love to see you back here and on the next one, and we'll do that next time. But we're not done yet because this is a live stream. And so let's see what else we're talking about today. Aha, I forgot. Next segment is fun. Secret Service now allegedly covering up coke in the White House. We all suspected that because how could they not find out who owned that coke that was in the White House of all places? Well, now Susan Crabtree from Real Clear Politics came out and says, look, former Secret Service Chief Cheatle, Kimberly, who's gone now, probably hanging out with Nathan Wade in Belize, says that they wanted to destroy the cocaine evidence. That's according to 3 sources in the Secret Service community. We're going to read it. New details emerge about the unsolved cocaine mystery, a partial DNA hit, and Secret Service leaders and their bungled efforts to make it all go away. And did they retaliate against the top official who didn't go along with this? The story will tell us in just one second. We're going to read it. But this is from Judicial Watch, okay? This came over from Oversight Project with a hat tip over to Judicial Watch. FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, went over to the government, Secret Service, and others. And here is what they found. So Tim Burchett says, he's a representative, says, we're now learning that the former Secret Service director, Cheatle, was pushing to destroy the cocaine found in the White House without telling anybody. Destroy it like in Hunter's nose or what? Cover up after cover up after cover up. From Tim Burchett. Now here's what this says. Here was a redacted document from the Offense and Incident Report. Judicial Watch, shout out to Tom Fitton and our friends over there, says on July 14, 2023, COC, item number 1 was removed from temporary storage located here, redacted, by a U.S. Secret Service technician, redacted, transferred to redacted station for destruction and placed on property blank. Then item number 2 was transferred to the U.S. Secret Service FSD laboratory for processing to allow for long-term storage. Item 2 was transferred from the Secret Service laboratory to technician blank and stored in the evidence vault for Office for Preservation prior to disposal, consistent with agency policy. Case status, case closed. No further information. Now, the reporting party was blank redacted, male, white guy, estimated age range, all redacted. Can't see any of it. But we've got now Congress looking into this, and Susan Crabtree reporting, telling us that a former Secret Service chief, you know, Kimberly Cheatle, the woman who said, I don't know what happened, why Trump almost got shot in the head, I have no idea. Well, they wanted to destroy the Biden family cocaine, and Cheatle had already worked for the Bidens for a long time. But they wanted to destroy it, but the Secret Service's Forensic Services Division and the Uniform Division stood firm, and they rejected the push to dispose of the evidence. That's according to the Secret Service, 3 sources. Multiple heated confrontations and disagreements over how to best handle the cocaine ensued after a Uniform Division officer found the bag. A quiet Sunday when Biden and his family were in Camp David. At least one Uniform Division officer was initially assigned to investigate the cocaine incident, one guy. But after he told his supervisors, including Cheatle, an acting Secret Service director, Ron Rutrow, the guy who we just heard from, who literally blamed the local cops on it, brought in printer poster boards printed with color, printed those out, and then blamed the local cops, said, why didn't they just look left? How could they allow this to happen? Then the next day came back out and was like, we accept full responsibility. No, sorry, you already printed your poster boards. Like, you don't get to take that back. We know how much work those are. Who was deputy director at the time, that he wanted to follow a certain crime scene protocol. He was taken off the case, according to a source within the Secret Service familiar with the removal. Anthony Guglielmi did not respond to a request for comment. The discovery of the bag posed an unusual problem for Cheatle. She resigned recently. Hunter was a well-documented cocaine and crackhead and other substances for many years, but reportedly claimed he was sober. And Biden would say how proud he is of his son. Yeah, and then Hunter's like out there like on the balcony. While neither Joe nor Hunter were at the executive mansion when the cocaine was found, it was discovered after a period when Hunter had been staying there. Cheatle became close to the Biden family while serving on VP Biden's detail, so close that he made her the Secret Service director. She had a very close relationship with Jill Biden. When the cocaine was first discovered, Cheatle knew it would spark a firestorm. The incident prompted viral memes about Hunter Biden's addictions. They were good memes, man. You remember the ones where it's like Christmas at the White House and there's like snow everywhere and Hunter's like running around naked in the snow at the White House? It's great. Including Nikki Haley. That the Secret Service knew whose cocaine it was and they were trying to cover it up. Of course they did. It's the White House. Normally, the discovery of cocaine or another illegal narcotic in the White House complex or in and around the first family and their staff wouldn't come to light at all. They just like shove it back in their noses. Now that's because the president and the first lady, as well as the families, would simply dispose of the drugs, right? The Secret Service would just like flush it down the toilet. They're like, oh crap, just flush it. But it wasn't a member of Biden's regular detail. That's the problem. All right. So the inner circle, they're like, oh crap. It's Hunter's coke again. Just flush it. We know there's a pattern of this. They did the same thing. It's like, oh, Hunter's hookers again. Oh, it's Hunter's drugs. It's Hunter's this. They had to go like, revive him after binges in hotel rooms. Secret Service, like this is what they do. But this wasn't one of theirs. Instead, a member of the agency's Uniform Division, which is charged with protecting the facilities, discovered the substance. The exact location where the officer found the bag changed several times because they're liars. It's all they do is lie. During the first weeks of media reports, lied about that. Lied about January 6th, deleted their evidence, deleted their text, did the same thing here on J13. Same thing here with Hunter's coke. It's never ending. Initial reports said that the cocaine was found in a reference library. Later reports said no, it was a work area, which is attached to the mansion. Then it was reportedly found in a facility used by the staff and the guests. It kept moving around. They can't figure it out. An official Secret Service statement issued at the conclusion of their own internal investigation said it was in a vestibule leading to the lobby area of the West Executive Avenue entrance. Statement was released on the 13th, 11 days after they discovered it, once they could figure out where to say it came from. The officer who first found the bag with a white substance immediately flagged it. He says, oh, that's coke. Worried it could be anthrax or ricin. Then they brought out someone else. Actually, normally they would bring this person out. A technical security division would be on the scene. They'd come out in hazmat suits, hazard substances. However, they didn't call that person in. Okay, that's how they knew it was Hunter's coke. Because if they knew it was something, if they didn't know it was Hunter's coke, then it could be anybody's anything, right? It's not Hunter's, it's someone else's. And if it's not coke, it's something really dangerous. And you have to, you know, it's an unknown substance. It could be anthrax in the middle of the White House. They're like, somebody saw Hunter. He's like, he just threw it in there with his keys. Forgot them. So they were going to bring that dude in. They're like, no, it's just coke. The TSD investigator was not called in on a Sunday evening. Instead, a Secret Service officer or agent called in the District of Columbia Fire, who evacuated the White House complex while they tested it. And it's a cocaine. Okay, so they did do some testing. Why'd they bring someone else in? It's a holiday weekend. They don't want it in their agency. That's why they bring in the local guys. This is a pattern now. So they again bring in the local guys. Why do they do that? They could have brought in a Secret Service person or somebody who's there, part of the feds, but they just bring in the local fire, right? It's much different. Because they don't want it. They don't want anything to do with it. Because the press was part of the evacuation, there was no way to hide the information about the discovery. Secret Service leaders quickly shifted to crisis mode. Meanwhile, the substance and the packaging were treated as evidence and sent to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security National Biodefense Team, which again analyzed it for biothreats. Also came back, no, it's coke. Then the Secret Service sent the plastic bag and its content to the FBI, crime lab, and fingerprint and DNA analysis. While there were no latent fingerprints detected, the FBI found some DNA material. Oh, gross. According to 3 sources in the Secret Service community. Hunter's DNA? Several sources citing private statements by a special agent in the Forensic Services Division who and it's like, come on, guys, you have to go through all this work. Like, aren't there cameras there? Like, don't you have a camera looking at the vestibule? Are you freaking joking me? It's the White House. So several sources citing private statements by a special agent in the Services Division forensics team who supervised the vault containing the cocaine evidence said the agency ran the DNA material against national criminal databases and got a partial hit. Uh-oh. Who could that be? Now, Hunter at this time, I think, had been charged with crimes. So was it his? The term partial hit is vague in this context, but its forensics lingo usually means law enforcement found DNA matching a blood relative of a finite pool of people. So they've got DNA evidence on this crackhead. Now, the congressional oversight committees need to put White under oath and confirm a partial hit. The FBI needs to explain who the partial hit was, then determine what blood family member has ties to the White House, or what person matching the partial hit was present at the White House that weekend. Other sources familiar with the investigation and Cheatle's alleged push to destroy the cocaine didn't know if anyone at the Secret Service ran the DNA material against the national database. In fact, in January, federal prosecutors urged the judge to reject Hunter Biden's efforts to dismiss the gun charges against him, revealing that investigators last year discovered a cocaine residue on the pouch the president's son used to hold his gun. In June, a 12-member jury found Hunter guilty of that. Secret Service leaders, under pressure from Cheatle, chose not to run additional services or searches for DNA matches. Don't try to find out or to conduct interviews with the hundreds of people who worked in the complex. Just don't care. Just flush it. That's because they didn't want to know, they said, or even narrow down the field of who it could be. It could have been Hunter, could have been a staffer, could have been someone doing a tour. We'll never know. No, I think we know. During the feverish speculation in the days and the weeks after the cocaine's discovery, and just run this against any, they find this at your office or something, right? Wherever you work. You think the cops will come in, give you a benefit of the doubt on that? No. During the feverish speculation in the days and the weeks after the cocaine discovery, White House refused to answer whether it came from anybody. Labeled it irresponsible to ask about Hunter. Irresponsible to ask about it. In announcing the conclusion of the investigation, they determined that they interviewed 500 people. They said, well, if we interview everybody, it could be a strain upon our resources. It could infringe civil liberties. It would be fruitless. They couldn't even find this person without corresponding physical evidence tying any person to the drugs. Another cover-up, a cocaine cover-up. On July 12th, the Secret Service got the lab results, which did not develop latent fingerprints. They're like, well, there's not enough here. And there was also insufficient DNA for investigative comparisons. Isn't that convenient? Therefore, the Secret Service, we have no idea. I don't know. There was no surveillance video footage found that gave them any leads or any other means. And without physical evidence, we can't single anyone out. So at this time, the investigation is closed. Over the last month, they've come under fire for getting people shot and killed and not finding cocaine and insurrecting America. But at some point during the investigation, the vault supervisor, Matt White, received a call from Cheatle or someone speaking on her behalf. At some point, right, this guy's like, I'm investigating this. They called, say, destroy the cocaine. Oh, you're the vault supervisor. Can you please destroy that evidence item, HB Hunter Biden 25? Because agency leaders wanted to close the case. He says, well, protocol is whether you act on the DNA hit or not, we still have to maintain the evidence of up to 7 years. Like, we have to hold on to that. So it became a big to-do. White's boss, Glenn Dennis, the head of the Forensic Services Division, then conferred with the Uniform Division, which first discovered the cocaine. A decision was made not to get rid of the evidence, and it really pissed off Cheatle, said someone. A source in the Secret Service community said. At the time of the coke's discovery, Richard McCauley was acting as the acting chief of the Uniform Division after the retirement of Alfonso, 29-year veteran. When Dyson left, McCauley, who is black, became the acting director. Despite Cheatle's push to hire and promote minority men over women, McCauley was passed over for the job in what many of the agency view as an act of retaliation for supporting those who refuse to dispose of the cocaine. Brutal. Wow. But he was passed over for the chief, a black man. Wild. For doing the right thing. That's unbelievable. In 2018, McCauley was named the Secret Service Uniform Division Officer of the Year. In an interview with the Federal News Network, a news talk show focused on issues, a host lauded McCauley for receiving the award, increasing diversity and all those things, but she doesn't care. Okay, black, white, whatever, doesn't matter. They don't care about any of that. They care about power and about you bending the knee to their will. So what a great article. And this is from Susan Crabtree, man. And her reporting, we've talked about a lot of stuff from her lately. She's been doing amazing work. So make sure you're giving her a follow over on X. Search her name. You'll find it immediately. Doing amazing work and showing us that the Secret Service just covers things up. They deleted evidence on January 6th. They called it a phone migration. Tons of text messages gone. All of them gone from January 6th. We have a cocaine cover-up. We've got a J13 series of lies and cover-up blaming local cops. It's never ending. That's just what they do, is just lie. And so we'll be here continuing to cover it. Thank you for subscribing, my friends. We'll look forward to seeing you back here on the next one. But we're not done yet. We got one final segment to attend to, and this one involves Google. That's right. House Republicans are investigating Google. Remember when you tried to go in there and type Trump assassination? They sent you to like an NBA basketball game. You're like, what the heck? Or better yet, to Kamala's campaign donation website. Nobody really got what they were doing, except we did. It's censorship. They don't want you to go search for Trump and find him to be sympathetic. Now, Congress is unhappy about that, sending this one on August 5th from the Committee on the Judiciary, House of Representatives, over to Google. Mr. Sundar Pichai, CEO of Alphabet. Now, this comes from our friend Jim Jordan, chairman from Ohio. And this is just part of Google's headache today. They got this. They want to know about the autocomplete. We'll read through this letter, but remember the autocomplete problem, the situation here. Trump was not showing up there. We'll go through it. But also Google apparently is now an illegal monopoly. That's according to a federal judge. Sean Davis grabbed this opinion for us, which looks like this. We'll hit the highlights of this one. It's 286 pages. So we'll read through some of the intro and see what's cooking on it. But the big news, of course, is that Google has been interfering in the 2024 elections. They've been doing this for a long time. They did it in 2020, and in the aftermath and beyond, I'm sure they will continue it. But here is what the Judiciary Committee wants to know from Google. They say, all right, Google, listen. Congress is conducting oversight about how Biden-Harris, how they've coerced and colluded with other companies to censor lawful speech. We have obtained documents showing how social media companies engaged with the executive branch, with Biden-Harris, to censor true information about Biden's corruption in advance of 2020. Now, the censorship and other covert forms of manipulation to favor one candidate are illegal. Now, our oversight committee has shown how the federal government has coerced or colluded with companies like yours to moderate online content. Now, in particular, the committee obtained documents showing that the government has successfully pressured YouTube, a subsidiary of yours, to censor certain content, including content that did not violate any moderation policies. Now, recent reporting also indicates that Google may now be interfering in 2024 as well by censoring information about Trump and his ongoing campaign for the presidency, including what happened on J13 when he was almost shot and killed in Pennsylvania. Now, in response to our oversight, your counsel gave our subcommittee non-public information about Google's issues with search and autocomplete and the company's efforts to correct them. And so in addition to offering a private briefing this week, which we expect to have, we write today to remind you of your obligation, and we're looking forward to having our questions answered. Non-public information, let's see what is revealed inside. So here's the omission of Trump's assassination attempt from the autocomplete, the search bar. We all remember this. We talked about this here. Here's what we saw happen. Now, through counsel, Alphabet admitted that after J13, predictions for queries about the assassination attempt against Trump, they admit they should have appeared, but they didn't. Now, they explained that there are built-in protections around political violence, and those political protections were just out of date. That's why it didn't show up. And it's interesting because all of the other assassinations showed up. Now, autocomplete failed to provide relevant results about the attempt on Trump's life. Alphabet also shared that the company updated these protections once the issue was flagged, and that autocomplete now shows results about the attempt. So this is how it works now. Now, previously, it was not working like this. So Donald Trump, if you type Trump, it shows Trump assassination. But before this, it was even way worse. Like you could type Donald Trump assassination, and it would show you nothing, or it'd say Teddy Roosevelt assassination or Abraham Lincoln assassination. Now, for this week's briefing, we want to know the following. Google, please be prepared to provide the details. How did executives at Google's know that the autocomplete was not providing suggested search results about Trump? Who told you? When did the executives learn that autocomplete was not working? Which teams or divisions within Google were responsible and for fixing this issue? How long after Google was aware was the fix implemented? Remember, these are hot moments in time. A bunch of eyeballs go to these stories. They want to suppress them while they're hot. Once they're no longer hot, doesn't matter. Did Google have any correspondence or communication with the White House or any other executive branch agency? How about the FBI? About the failure to complete your autocomplete? Were other assassination attempts on prominent political figures omitted? Not really. No, there weren't. We saw all the other attempts show up. In fact, it suggested other attempts. What impact has this correction on autocomplete had on Americans' ability to obtain information about the J13 attempt? How many searches were attempted and failed? How many conversations could have been started that would have benefited President Trump? Millions. Now, how can the American people be confident that a similar issue, whether intentional or not, will not occur again? Answer, we can't. So also, the omission of Trump's name from autocomplete. Now, Alphabet has also admitted that autocomplete was not showing Trump's name in response to searches for President Trump. Why would that be? Assassination, that's political violence. Like I could see them saying like, how to assassinate they're like, nope, no autocomplete, right? Like, no, that's not what we're talking about. We're just typing President Donald. That's it. Alphabet claims that this issue was caused by a bug. Isn't that fun? What a weird bug, and has been fixed by a recent update. It's weird how all these little bugs happen. You know, there was a bug also on January 13th and in general. It's just a bug. It's like 7 bugs in a row. I don't know how they happened, so Trump almost got shot in the head, but oh, okay, got it. Because this vague excuse leaves many questions unanswered, we ask that Alphabet please be prepared to answer the following. How did the executives at Google learn that autocomplete was not giving answers about President Trump? And by the way, if this was like a person, like if this was an actual person, okay, did somebody do that? Did some whack job liberal do that there? That person should be prosecuted. When did executives at Google learn that autocomplete was not providing these search results? And how quickly did they oh, it's not showing there was, well, we should add that to our next meeting agenda. Oh, when's our next meeting? Well, next 3 weeks are pretty busy. So how about the next month? We'll put it on the next month's docket. So how long was this bug affecting autocomplete? How many millions of people? It's in-kind campaign contributions to the Democrats. It's all it is. What is the nature of the update that Google implemented to fix this bug? It's the we don't want to get prosecuted by Congress. Which teams or divisions within Google worked to update this design? How long after Google was aware of the bug was the update implemented? Did Google have any correspondence or communication with any executive branch officials concerning the omission of the names? No, they're like, no, we love this. Which other prominent American political figures, if any, were affected by this bug? Not Democrats. What impact has this correction to autocomplete had in Americans' ability to obtain information about President Trump? And how can the American people be assured it's not going to happen again? And lastly, searches about President Trump return news stories about Vice President Harris. It's election interference right now. Finally, Alphabet tried to explain to the committee why searches for Trump return news labels and stories about Harris. Alphabet claimed that this error was a result of its algorithm that automatically generates and displays labels, and that the company noted that predictions may be unexpected and bugs will occur. So we don't believe that crap either. For how long have stories about Vice President Harris appeared in response to stories about Trump? What impact has this issue had for people trying to find out about these campaigns? Has Google taken any action to fix this bug? Our Congress is not going to do anything, okay? Nothing. So this is going to happen for the rest of the election cycle. Just get ready for it. Has Google taken any action to more narrowly tailor the news or search results? Which teams or divisions at Google are doing anything about it? None. Do the company, the majority of the people working there believe that this is like a good thing. Does the company seek to elevate liberal news outlets more prominently over conservative ones? Yes. If not, what step does the company take to audit how the algorithm is functioning? Just look at YouTube, man. How can the American people be confident? We can't. Keep asking the question, Jim. Anyways, I like Jim Jordan, so we'll see what he gets. Pursuant to the rules, we can investigate our civil liberties. Yet another letter going over towards Google. Now, we also saw that Google is getting the old backhand from the District of Columbia. And this is a big, fat opinion. I've not read the full thing, and we're not going to do that here. It's 286 pages. But you can see it is a big one. And the long and short of it is Google's a monopoly. Now, it's not a monopoly over everything. So just parsing through even the table of contents, you can see the judge is doing something to distinguish between the markets here. So when we talk about monopoly power, there's obviously the advertising market, which is huge, right? It's not only online, but it's also internet and print. TV and print. And there's, the internet's a pretty big place. So the search advertising is the relevant product market. So we're narrowing it out. We're not doing all of advertising as the Venn diagram circle. It's a much smaller subset. Saying Google has a monopoly over search text ads and other areas. So it's not going to be all of advertising, but search advertising and general search text ads. So let's go through. We'll just hit the introduction and let's see what the judge tells us. It says, okay, against Google, sorry, Google, the general search engine has revolutionized the way we live, says the judge. Information that once took hours to get, we now get from a search engine. Almost works like magic. Type in a word, it pops up all instantly. General search engines make money by selling ads. We know. Type in running shoes, you get ads for running shoes. For more than 15 years, one search engine has stood above the rest, Google, founded by Stanford and probably DARPA and the CIA. They now have $2 trillion in a market cap. Very profitable advertising. Now, in 2009, 80% of all search queries in 2009 went through Google. Numbers grown. By 2020, it was nearly 90%. Bing, 6%, 84% fewer than Google. Google has not achieved market dominance by happenstance, hired a ton of people, earned the trust of hundreds of users. But people are bailing. I mean, Google's getting worse every day. And the one I've been experimenting with lately is Perplexity. Perplexity.ai, for crying out loud. Okay, I'm never going to share that name again. But Google also has a large unseen advantage over rivals: default distribution. Most users access this through a browser, and it automatically goes to Google. And so the distribution agreement benefits Google. For years, Google has secured default placements. They pay huge sums of money to make you use them as the default search engine. Google's dominance eventually brought up antitrust eyeballs. And in 2020, we saw a bunch happen. The proceedings that have followed have been remarkable. Discovery began December 2020, concluded March 2023. Millions of pages exchanged hands. Oh, this is fun. So we can also compare and contrast this with the January 6th case. Yeah. So the January 6th case has I think 12, 13, 15 million pages of documents. So this case, discovery in a case that involved millions of pages, took 3 years, right? To connect this back to the January 6th case. 3 years for millions of pages. There are millions of pages in the January 6th case. They've had 9 months of time. Google produced petabytes of data, dozens of people deposed, high-ranking executives, 9-week bench trial, dozens of live witnesses. After receiving post-trial submissions, the court held closing arguments. The lawyering has been first-rate throughout. Amazing. That's cool. Now, after carefully considering this, weighing everything, the court reaches the following conclusion. Google is a monopolist, and it has acted as one to maintain its monopoly, violating the Sherman Act. Now, specifically, the court holds that there are relevant product markets for general search services and general search text ads. So general search and general search text ads. Google has monopoly power in those, not general ads or other areas, but those narrow markets. Google's distribution agreements are exclusive. They have anti-competitive effects. If Apple has you search on Google, you can't have anyone else on there. And Google has not offered valid pro-competitive justifications for these. Importantly, the court also finds that Google has exercised its monopoly power by charging supra-competitive prices for general search text ads. That conduct has allowed them to earn monopoly profits. Now, other determinations favor Google. The court says there is a product market for search advertising, but that Google lacks monopoly power in that market, in search advertising. So other display, images and other, like Facebook is, a big player in there and others. There is no product market for general search advertising, and Google is not liable for its action involving its platform. The court also declines to sanction Google for its failure to preserve its chat. Now, this decision is complicated. Court addresses a lot of this. The court has included an appendix and on and on and on. And so we'll, of course, leave you to read that opinion. It's 286 pages. But the long and short of it is that Google does have some monopoly powers in certain markets, not all of them. And so I think we'll see the remedy, right? What are the remedies? What are they going to do about all this? Google will appeal this. This will go up and up and up and up, no doubt. But it was signed by Omitted Mehta. He is in the DC circuit. He says, so for the foregoing reasons, the court concludes it is a monopoly in two product markets in the United States: search services and general text ads. Liable, finds Google liable. Now, the court enters judgment for Google as to the other counts. And so that's the ruling from Judge Omitted Mehta. Now, how does this whole thing get unpacked? What are the remedies? What are the consequences of this? What does it mean? That will be revealed later on, and we'll see what it looks like. But a big, big loss for Google, who clearly has been acting as a monopoly for quite a long time, and I think very incestuous with the government. I'm all for companies doing well, technology companies doing well, but when they start to get in bed with the government, when the FBI and Google and Facebook, they have a liaison with each other, they can support each other. The companies get protection from the government and the politicians get protection from the companies. It is to our disadvantage. So this is good news. We're going to see that I think Google's going to fight hard on this one. A lot of money at stake. We'll be here to continue to cover it. Thank you for subscribing and joining us as we do, my friends. Would love to see you back here on the next one. All right. And so that, my friends, is where we'll leave it on the day. It's now time to hear from you. If you just joined us, we covered 3 good grounds, 3 good segments today. Trump and the J6 case back on the docket. Things are heating back up there. We've got another hearing coming up on August 16th in Judge Chutkan's courtroom. So we'll be covering that. Secret Service apparently was working very hard to cover up that cocaine story, including wanting the cocaine itself deleted. There were fingerprints on there that they never developed. There was DNA that they never really ultimately investigated. They had partial hits. It said, oh, we have a DNA result. It's Hunt, H-U-N. They go, oh, man. H-U-N? It's like only half of a name. I wonder what the second half could be. I have no idea. Should we investigate it anymore? No. A partial hit's good enough. Hunt is good enough. Okay. Wonder who else it could be. Very concerning. So we talked about that. We also talked about House Republicans investigating Google, sending a letter over to Sundar to demand answers about why they have bugs all in their search engine that are just showing up against Trump. That's strange. And of course, Google losing the monopoly lawsuit. But now it's time to hear from you. And let's see what you have to say about it over from our friends on YouTube and on Locals and on Rumble. And if you want to join us for our Locals members only after party, the link is watchingthewatchers.locals.com. And we'd love to see you over there. That's where we go to debrief the show. As soon as we're done, we like to hang and chat with our friends on the Locals tubes. But let's see who is here and joining us on the day. And my friends, was the internet a little bit better today? Was it a little bit clearer today? I changed providers. I'm watching it right now. Yeah, it does look a little bit better. All right, so let's see what's cooking out over there. We got some good comments in the house. Hey, Travel Agent Amy's over on Locals. What's up, Travel Agent Amy? John McGarvey clipped this one for us. Says, this was shared by the Kansas GOP through email. I'm curious if there is something to it. This one says, these states have an electoral vote of 130. They're going to be asked to call a special session and so on. It's a good question, Travel Agent Amy. I don't know. It's a very good question. I don't know what that's all about. Curious if there's something to it. It's a great question. I don't know the answer to it. Looks like it's a complicated one. 130 votes. Yeah, good question. Eddie Block is here, but thank you for the dono on that one, Travel Agent Amy. This one from Eddie Block Film says, hey, FBI, can I get my stuff back while you're at it? Can I please have my stuff back? What's up, Eddie? I hope you get it back, my friend. FBI punks. T.A. Holloway says, can Judge Cannon's ruling about Jack Smith's ineligibility be applied to the Chutkan case in an appeal? Not anything that's binding, right? It's not going to be anything that is mandatory for Chutkan to follow. The reason being is it's just a different jurisdiction. It's an entirely different court. We have different circuits. So what I think is going to happen is Chutkan is going to say that Jack Smith is valid and legal, and we'll have a circuit split. The DC circuit will say he's great. The Florida circuit, the 11th circuit, will say he's not great. And we'll have the Supreme Court that's going to have to deal with it. Concert Chick says, I'm late. Had to catch up on the track for T.S. Debbie. We are expecting historic flooding here in South Carolina. Oh, man. Yes, that's right. Even in South Carolina, huh? I saw that was, I think, making landfall down in Florida. And Ron DeSantis was there speaking about it. So, yes, prayers for our friends, everybody who's getting blasted by that storm. Thanks, Concert Chick. Sorry you had to be late, but you got a good excuse today. Your note passes. Okay, it's like hurricane, tropical storms. That's okay. Hey, what's up? Eddie Block says, Rob, I've decided to start my news show back up again. Heck yeah, Eddie. Every Monday through Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific. 4 days a week, man. That's a lot of work. It's a lot. Locals. Okay, my friends, check it out. Eddie Block Films. Amazing. News show back up again. I encourage you to go check it out. Eddie Block's a good dude. We got to hang out and meet in Vegas with his real good boy, Donnie. Ton of fun. And I'm excited for you, Eddie. Keep it up, brother. We need a lot of voices out there. I encourage everybody to start a YouTube channel. Basically everybody. It's kind of like annoying. It's like I go to dinners. They're like, well, this is what I do. I'm like, oh yeah? You putting that on YouTube? They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, you should. They're like, who are you? I'm like, well, put it on YouTube. What's up? You know what I mean? It's we need more voices out there. What's up? Hey, Rainforest. What's up, Rainforest? Says, okay, so Jenna Ellis was never a target, but got indicted anyways. Isn't that the very definition of selective prosecution? It's really a dumb thing that her attorney said. Okay, so, okay, if she was never a target, why was she indicted? Huh. And if she was never a part of it at all, then what is she cooperating with? Want to answer those questions? Thank you, Rainforest. Yeah, it's been very disappointing to watch what's happened to her. Rick D says, Rob, isn't advice of counsel covered by CRM 500-999-771? I don't know. I haven't looked at that one in a long time or ever, probably. Defenses, good faith reliance upon the advice of counsel in federal law. Does Arizona have an equivalent? Well, yeah, so we have talked, so you're referring to the code. I don't even know what you're referring to, a manual? But anyways, yeah, there is good faith reliance upon advice of counsel. That was kind of the point I was making earlier on the show, is that they were relying on Jenna Ellis, and then she's basically stabbing them in the back from what it sounds like. We haven't seen it or how this is going to ultimately turn out, but it certainly feels like that. And this is the same thing, right? We talked a lot about this in the Trump case because Trump was going to say that he relied on his counsel on the J6 case. And then they said, oh, if that's true, well, then you have to give us access to all of your communications and stuff like that with your lawyers. And I don't think they wanted to go that far. Actually, that was in the, I think that was even in the Roberta Kaplan case. Like, it comes up a lot. It comes up a lot. And various states have different interpretations of it. Posh Hawk says, the level of evil around us is quite disturbing, from Posh Hawk. Yeah, I think that's a good statement on that. I think that's true. It's elevating pretty rapidly. And what's so funny about it, it's not funny about it, but it's kind of disturbing, is that the facade almost gets bigger and bigger every day. It's like there's less support underneath what we're seeing. It seems faker and faker every day. And almost the enthusiasm and the exuberance is almost becoming manic. Is that making sense? It's almost like manic. Like, you can see when somebody's elated and happy and genuine, and you can see in their eyes that they're happy, healthy people. But there's kind of this level of mania and this elatement. It's almost kind of disconnected from reality. It's kind of scary. I'm noticing it a lot too, Posh. It's getting more aggressive by the day. CF Rob over on Rumble, what's up? Says, there were cocaine baggies at every location listed. It didn't move around. So you think Hunter was just stashing stuff around in case he needs a bump from room to room? Hey, what's going on? Hey, Grip Van Wrinkled in the house says, without Bobby G, the news is just no man's land. Good to see you, Grip. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate that in the house. Bobby G, that's a fun one. And it's pretty messy out there. Hey, Zulu upgraded his membo to shout out status. Zulu, thanks for doing that. And we don't really have any differences between the tiers at the current moment, but I'm working on that. I'm meeting with some very smart people tomorrow, in fact, to talk about leveling a bunch of stuff up around the shop here. So I'm excited about that. So Zulu, upgrading your membo, it's all the same, but it means more to me. Thank you, Zulu, for upgrading your membo. Hey, what's up? Frezio says, welcome aboard. Welcome to supporter, Frezio. Thanks for becoming a membo. You too, Jens. Also, you too, don't forget to grab that membo stream in the morning. That would be fun. This one from Biology Always Wins. Usually does, yeah. Says, is Harris legally allowed to run for president? Her parents were visa. She was born here, not natural born. I don't know the specifics or the details about her birth specifically, like geography or where it was. But yeah, there's the presumption is that if you're geographically born in the United States, you're a citizen. I disagree with that. I think that there's something called birthright citizenship, which is what we practice. I think most other foreign countries do not do that. It's not a geographic disposition. It's about whether you're subject to the jurisdiction of the nation state. And if you're not subject to the jurisdiction of the nation state, the geography shouldn't override that. But that's not the current rule. It's basically plop a baby out, you're good. Hey, what's up? This one came in from the Tory Says show. Says, saw something, say something. Hashtag not just a sniper from the Tory Says show. Shout out to the Tory Says show. Good stuff over there. Hey, this old guy says, since Jack Smith and his pirate band Prosecutors is on notice that they're illegitimate, are they liable to refund any salaries and expenses declared after the Sessions notice? So that's a great, who's going to make that claim, right? Who's going to file that claim? I don't know who's going to file that. Are the people entitled to a recourse since they got $24 million misappropriated out of a government fund? Is anybody going to investigate that? There should be a special counsel to investigate that. But I don't know. I mean, really, like, who's going to get the money back? It's $24 million. It's like, for the government, it's like tip money. It's like lunch. Hey, this old guy's here. Says since Jack Smith and his, we got that one. Thank you, this old guy. Oh, what's going on? It's Rice Baby. Dun 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 dun. What's up? Bruce Rice Baby bringing in 20 membos today. Laura, what's up? No Japski's coming in. Thank you, Bruce Rice. Kat is here. X is here. Joe V is here. Nutter Brudder. Eric with a K. Kathy Bloom. We got Peter Roden. What's up? Darren McNeil. HD Warrior. Alan Pigwell. Jay Dye. Dan. Pope Rackets touched me. Again, Sarah Long, C. Warren, Jason Green, Dog Backwards is God, and Shantae in the house. What's up, Shantae? Welcome aboard. 20 membos gifted courtesy of Bruce Rice Baby in the house. What's up? Thank you, Bruce, for doing that, for bringing in 20 new membos. And welcome aboard, my friends. Grab that morning stream. It was fun. God Rides a Harley says, I asked Siri why I can't keep a woman. She said, my name is Alexa. Get out. She threw you out too? Man, it's tough to keep track of them all. Hey, what's up? I'd rather be skiing says, gee, who could the cocaine belong to? It's a mystery. The only hit we got was partial for one or two names. Either H or Unter. Anybody know anybody starts with the first name H or last name or second half Unter? Impossible to figure out. I don't know. We're going to have to call Inspector Gadget on this one. I like Inspector Gadget. He's got a lot of gadgets, and I happen to like gadgets. So it's pretty cool. Hey, what's up? Bruce Rice. Thanks for this, Bruce. Thanks for bringing in the membos. And you've been a membo for 22 months, man. That's a long time, brother. We've been through some business. Says, love the show, Rob. Thank you for all the red ink. It's an honor, Bruce Rice, to share ink together every day here on the show. It's my honor. It's a privilege and an honor. I'm grateful to be doing it with you. Thank you for being here with us for 22 months as a membo, for bringing in new membos. We love you, Bruce. Hopefully you're okay with the Ice Baby thing, Ice Baby is very, some people are not Ice Baby fans, which I can understand that. Although, how could you not be? It's Ice Baby. All right, let's see who's joining us on X. Then we're going to wrap it up and go over to locals for our members only after party. Who is joining us on the X? We got Fred Pedamonte. What's up, Jerome? Good to see you. Fred says, what you described earlier with the government and Google is the literal definition of fascism. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's when they basically work in cahoots with one another. It's the business government complex becomes interspersed with one another and takes over everything. It's not good. Jerome C. What's up, Jerome? Thanks for that. Tony DeMarco says, I'm here. I'm on locals. I'm here. I'm on locals. I'm dizzy. What's up, Brian V? Great to see you. James says, Secret Service has the ultimate cocaine smuggling organization. No one searching the borders. It's the perfect scam. Hey, what's going on, Samantha? Talking about RFK, says RFK still needs signatures in Arizona for ballot access. Does he? Is he going to make a deal with Trump? I heard that was going to be happening. Steven says, I believe there was a video recorded statement from Biden that he will use every avenue of the legal system to prevent Trump from becoming president. Lori says, they've tried to take out Trump. They're actively trying to put him in jail. Now they're trying to rig the Supreme Court to do it too. Great comments, my friends, over on X. And it's very nice to see everybody on that platform. But, my friends, we are going to leave it there On the day, we are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com, where we're going to hang out with our locals membos for a little bit. We also do morning streams over there. There's an amazing group of people who are very handsome and good looking and beautiful. And so come and join us over there at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We go live in the morning. YouTube members, we also go live in the morning on YouTube. So come join us. Want to thank all of our amazing mods who helped out on the day. I see Playing Hookies in the house. What's up, Zulu? Great to see you in the chat. I know Donut is clipping away for us, making things nice and beautiful. Very nice to see you. John McGarvey's always helping out. I see John's in the house. Carrie B was helping us this morning. And K Bean, all modding down the fort for us, keeping things nice and beautiful and orderly. And we're grateful for our incredible mods. But my friends, that is where we are going to leave it here on the day. We are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com to get into it again. If we don't see you over there, we're going to be back here tomorrow to get into it again. I've got a bunch of good stuff I want to get into. We've got the J6 Inspector General's report that's quite long. We might do that tomorrow, but some good stuff in there, and we're going to need to get to it. And in order to do that, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. See you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.